On October 1, 2013, Ross Ulbricht was sitting in a public library, minding his own business. He looked like any other 29-year-old hipster. But on the dark web, he was the dread Pirate Roberts, the mastermind behind a $214 million illegal empire called the Silk Road. While he was chatting about Bitcoin, federal agents were closing in for a takedown so coordinated, it looked like a movie scene. This is how an Eagle Scout built an Amazon for drugs and lost everything because of one single email address. Before he was the most wanted man on the dark web, Ross Ulbricht was, by all accounts, a model citizen. He was an Eagle Scout from Austin, Texas. He earned a master's degree in materials science and engineering. He was bright, driven, and deeply interested in libertarian economic theory. He was fascinated by the idea of a truly free market, one without any government regulation, taxes, or oversight. He believed people should have the absolute freedom to buy and sell whatever they wanted. This wasn't just a passing thought, it was an obsession. He wrote in his journal about creating an online marketplace that could be a force for change, a place where individual liberty was the only law. This wasn't about getting rich, he claimed. It was an economic experiment. And in 2011, this experiment went live. He called it the Silk Road. The concept was revolutionary. It was designed to be the Amazon of the underworld. To access it, you needed a special browser called Tor, which anonymized your internet traffic by bouncing it through a global network of relays, making your location and identity nearly impossible to trace. For payments, Ulbricht chose a new, equally anonymous technology, Bitcoin. This combination of Tor and Bitcoin was the secret sauce. It allowed for secure and traceable transactions between complete strangers, but the real genius was in the user experience. Just like on eBay, buyers and sellers could leave reviews and ratings for each other. A 5-star rating on the Silk Road meant you were a reliable vendor, even if you were selling illegal substances. This system built a fragile, yet functional, layer of trust in a completely lawless environment. The site exploded in popularity. And dread Pirate Roberts was suddenly the king of a digital empire. For 2 years, the FBI and D were chasing a ghost. Dread Pirate Roberts was a phantom, operating with near-perfect security. But behind the digital curtain, Ross Ulbricht, the man, was getting careless. The first thread the FBI pulled was an old one. Years before the Silk Road launched, a user named Altoid posted on a web forum asking for programming help for a new anonymous marketplace. In another post, Altoid asked for an IT pro in the Bitcoin community and left an email address, rossulbricht@gmail.com. It was a rookie mistake, made long before the stakes were high. But it was the first time investigators had a real name to work with. Then came another break. Customs agents intercepted a package from Canada addressed to Ross Ulbricht in San Francisco. Inside were 9 high-quality fake IDs, each with his photo but different names. He had ordered them from a vendor on his own website. The net was closing in. The ghost was starting to look a lot like Ross Ulbricht. But the investigation had a dark side that few knew about. While the FBI was methodically tracking Ulbricht's digital footprints, 2 federal agents on the case were running their own scams. DEA agent Carl Force and Secret Service agent Sean Bridges were part of the Baltimore task force investigating the Silk Road. They had access to the site's inner workings. Force, using his undercover persona, started extorting Ulbricht, offering him inside information on the investigation in exchange for Bitcoin payments. Bridges went even further. He simply stole millions of dollars in Bitcoin directly from the Silk Road and its users. Their most sinister act was convincing Ulbricht that one of his employees had been caught and was cooperating with law enforcement. They staged a fake murder of this employee and extorted hundreds of thousands of dollars from Ulbricht to take care of the problem. It was a twisted plot where the lines between law enforcement and criminal blurred completely. Ulbricht believed he was ordering hits to protect his empire, but in reality, he was being conned by the very agents meant to bring him to justice. By late 2013, the FBI had enough. They had tracked the Silk Road's main server to a data center in Iceland. They had connected Ross Ulbricht to the Altoid posts and the fake IDs. And most importantly, they had pinpointed his physical location through his online activity at the Glen Park Library in San Francisco. The takedown had to be perfect. They couldn't just arrest him. They needed his laptop open and unlocked. If he closed the lid, the hard drive would encrypt. And the digital evidence, the keys to the entire kingdom, could be lost forever. So they devised a plan. 2 agents would stage a loud, distracting argument nearby. As Ulbricht looked up, startled, a 3rd agent would swoop in, snatch the laptop, and pass it to a tech expert. On October 1st, the plan went into motion. The agents started arguing. Ulbricht turned his head, and in that split second, his laptop was gone. The FBI was looking at the master administrator panel for the Silk Road. They had their man, red-handed. The reign of the Dread Pirate Roberts was over. The trial was a media sensation. The defense argued that Ulbricht had created the site but handed it off to others, and that the real Dread Pirate Roberts was still out there. They pointed to the corruption of agents Force and Bridges to suggest the investigation was tainted. But the digital evidence was overwhelming. The jury found him guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge was unsparing, citing the lives ruined by the substances sold on his site. She sentenced him to 2 life sentences plus 40 years. With no possibility of parole, a sentence far harsher than many expected. Today, Ross Ulbricht remains in a maximum security prison. The corrupt agents who scammed him were also caught and sentenced to prison. The Silk Road is gone, but its legacy endures. It proved that a large-scale anonymous marketplace could exist, paving the way for countless successors on the dark web. The story of Ross Ulbricht serves as a cautionary tale about ideology, ambition, and the fine line between freedom and chaos in the digital age.